Thank you again for joining Proud of It podcast. I hope you are enjoying your day. Please share this with somebody. That's the only way it's going to get out. But hopefully you're here to listen and have a little bit of time to listen. But today's topic is on the American society and how it's lost its vision for its future. And at this point in time, America has no vision. The vision it has is really a totalitarian statehood where the government has full reign on elections, on everything, and that it can become the tyrant that it wants to become. Because if you've looked at my other podcasts, you'll know that tyranny is where we're headed, where we are exactly pretty much at this point, where the majority don't rule, but we're told by the minority on how we're going to do things. We're told by a select few of representatives of how the whole mass of a nation is going to be ruled and what the vision is for that nation. At this point, we're $123 trillion in debt to equal out to 800,000 poor child of the future. And that's where I'm saying we've lost our vision. We think that we can just keep on spending trillions and trillions of dollars. And the reason they're spending these trillions of dollars is so that they can bail out their friends and their mobsters that they have, and everybody else that's in between that. And I mean, America don't have really a vision of who it wants to be. It wants to be immorally wrong, but be morally right at the same time. And you can't be both. And, you want to project an image of ungodliness, but then call yourself godly. You want to say that you project an image of the worst part of humankind, but then want to say you pray to God. And this doesn't work. This is why America is where it's at, because America has no vision. Without God, you have no vision. You're blind. Our leaders are blind. Our government is blind. Our institutions are blind, and the simple fact is it all comes from not having the vision, and the only vision you can have comes from God. We didn't get our sight because we put in our own eyes. We had our sight because God gave us our sight so that we could see. In the same way, in vision of a nation, it has to be given by God and God alone. This nation's not has given away its vision. It's been blinded. It's almost in chains now, to the point where not even the nation itself thinks that it's worth fighting for. We've totally lost our vision for our children and what we want them to grow up in, the nation we want them to grow up in. We've lost our vision of what we seek out as Americans. We've lost our vision in every area pretty much. Only one area that we're all secure in, and that's making sure that we have the power we need to face the world powers around us. But even that vision is fleeting, because we have visionaries now that believe that we should just bow to the communist China, and that we should just relinquish all of our power to them. And then you have the media, which is totally a one-sided. They only have one eye. They only see one way. And even that's a blind even that, you still have a blind eye because you only have one eye. You can only see one way. All these institutions, they're blind. They're blinding our kids to the fact of what's really going on in this world. Everybody thinks that there will always be the power of the world, but without God, you're relinquishing your power. Our money's not going to be worth nothing in a couple of more years because of the simple fact we're trillions and trillions of dollars in debt. It's almost like the 2008 bubble. When it busts, your kids and your kids before them are going to owe $1 million apiece towards the national debt. And believe me, the investors will be hawking for the money when that day comes. We're totally justifying ourselves because we're selfish to our own means. And most people are just accumulating the wealth off the backs of the slave labor, which they're inciting with this 123 trillion in debt. And I mean, America without God has no vision. We have to come back to God to get vision. And not just, we think diversity has made us better, but diversity has only divided us more. And now we're more diverse than ever. And now they're bringing in multitudes and multitudes of new voters, new diversity. This is going to create more division, which just creates more chaos, which just creates more destruction. Our nation, because of no vision, is headed for destruction, because it's like driving a car. You have to have your eyes to see in front of you, and what's in front of you is the future. And we can't see the future because we're too nearsighted. We're looking for the right now. And we can't see the future because only God can see it, and He's not giving us vision for it because He's blinded us. And now we think we want all these things that we're asking for, but the thing is, the rest of the world is going way before us. The rest of the world is getting way ahead of us. The rest of the world is getting way more powerful than us. And we can't even come together on little issues, much less the big ones, because all of our vision is in different directions, and nobody feels unified with anybody. Blacks persecute their own, whites persecuting their own, just to sacrifice them for their own personal means. But I mean, what are we supposed to do, people? I mean, at this point, we're in a downward spiral, and all these kids going to college and doing all that they do, they're not learning nothing but how to make money. They're not learning anything about God. So all of that just comes to useless means. People without God will never survive. We wouldn't have survived in the 13 colonies without God, because we're going to be going against nations that are with God. Russia's with God. That's why our country hates Russia so much, because Russia's actually with God right now. Our God is with Russia. He's bringing mighty forces, building up mighty forces for Russia, because Russia actually has a vision. They know what they want to do in the future. But America's just a wavering soul lost in the sea of a big world with big dreams and big visions, way bigger visions than we can see. And if we continue to allow mobs to rule, injustice to rule, immorality to rule, and all these other things, we will never get our vision back. For all these things are blinding us to the future destruction which is coming upon us, because we won't ever look ahead. We just look at what's going on right now, right in front of us. But it's what's right down the road that you need to be worried about, because down the road there's bigger, worse things that can hit you. The things right there in front of you, you see plainly as day, but it's those things that you don't see that come at you so hard. If you don't see them, they kill you. And this is what's happening because we're putting all of our vision into things that don't really matter. China's putting all their innovation into AI, into missiles. Russia's putting all their arsenal, or pretty much all their money is going into military and things of that nature. I mean, at this point, if we was to go to war with either country, we would lose, and we know that. We'd lose for one reason, and one reason alone, because we don't have God. No country can win any battle without Him. All battles are lost without God. Even your own personal battles, even your family's battles, even your city's battles, even your police battles, even your criminal case battles that lawyers are fighting right now will be lost without Him. Without prayer, without understanding God, without God in your life, without God in your cities, without God in your country, without God in your schools, your colleges, I'm telling you, you will lose. You will lose every time. I'm going to tell you something. Without God means zero. It means zero. That's what I'm telling you. Even if you had the most powerful navy in the world, without God, it equals zero. A small country with the least amount of weapons, least amount of forces. Look at Iraq. Look at Afghanistan. We've been in those countries for 14, some of them 14, 15, going on 20 years or something like that. So long now, we can't even remember. But the thing is, we never conquered them. Why? Because we didn't have God. We couldn't never conquer them countries because we didn't have God. We lost that war. We lost that battle. And that was just a small country. Now imagine you taking on a bigger country. You would lose. You would lose because America don't know how to fight battles. They just know how to start battles. And they don't know how to win battles. The only way you win battles is through God, through listening to what He says. And now here we are, wondering where we're going. And we're just swerving all over the road. We're like a drunkard going 100 miles an hour and already drunk 15, 20 beers. And we're just headed for destruction. Our kids don't know it, for we don't tell them. We keep them just as blind, if not more blind, to the facts of what is going on in this world. We think that helps them, but really it just hinders them more. Plus, it would really piss them off to know that you've been allowing them to go in debt and they're not even born yet. You've been allowing your whole entire family to go in debt. I mean, if you have 3 kids right now, they owe $800,000. So they owe $2.4 million to the national debt. If you have 3 kids, there's $2.4 million to the national debt. If you have 4 kids, you owe even more than that. It just goes up and up. So I mean, if you have 4 kids, it'd be $3.2 million that they owe to the national debt. So there you are. And your kids should be mad because you should have been looking. You should have been listening. You should have been keeping up, but you wasn't. Too busy chasing after this world. And that's why they're headed for destruction. See, it won't be you that goes to destruction. You'll go to the grave, but they'll see destruction. And destruction's coming because the simple fact is this is not sustainable. Living in this kind of nation that is ungodly, with immorality running rampant on our television, on everything, and all. And you know, you have a mother speaking out about mask mandates. There is a lot worse things going on in your school than mask mandates, ma'am. There's a lot worse. There's a lot more you should be speaking out about, but they're speaking out about mask mandates, about what their kids are eating at school. There's a lot worse things going on than what your kids eating, or the mask, or anything else. Because your kids are being taught the most immoral part of that could ever be taught to a children's ear. Shouldn't even be brought to a child's ear. But guess what? The parents, they don't care. Why? Because they have no God. They have no reason to care. With no God, there isn't a reason to care. Just a reason to live. And a reason to continue chasing after all these false things. You know, even these businesses think they're so high and mighty, but they're not. Because even their money will be worth nothing. Their money won't even be worth enough to even care anymore about their business. Because the simple fact is, this new generation that they're projecting, it won't be worth nothing. They won't have God. They won't worship God. They won't even think about a God. The only God they'll know is an Apple iPod or an Apple iWatch or an Apple phone or just a cell phone in general. And that's all they'll worship. They won't even care about nothing else. But while they're worshiping all this stuff, the real living God, He's looking, He's listening, and He's making adjustments. He's making adjustments. He's making little tweaks here and little tweaks there. And believe me, He's making sure that all these adults that did not pay attention to how their children were brought up and what the teachers were teaching their children, they're going to pay for it, and they're going to pay it in full. The debt is going to be paid in full. So you think you're going to go to your grave and you're not going to have a debt. Y'all out there thinking that there's no God. But guess what? You're going to have a debt so high that you're not going to be able to pay it. And because you allowed this nation's vision to be blinded, guess what? Your children are going to be blinded. And they're all going to perish with drugs and with DUI. They're going to get in wrecks. They're going to die. They're going to be plagued by criminals because you allowed the criminals to run the streets. They're going to be killed by these criminals. They're going to be brought up to courts. And guess what? Because you didn't watch over the courts and you didn't make sure the courts are doing right, guess what? Their courts are going to let off the murderers that murdered your kids. They're going to let off the murderers that murdered your husband. They're going to let off the murderer that murdered your wife. They're going to let off the murderer that murdered all your family and everything else and burn them in the house. They're going to let them off because that's who you're allowing to get into power. The most evilest, vilest people that could ever be. The most wicked people right now are running this country. And nobody is sticking up and saying, where is my vote? Why is not my vote not being showed any worth? But I tell you, even with what happened in 2020, there should have been more outrage over that, but there's more outrage over a mask than there is about the 2020 election. Because obviously people, like I said, they don't have God, so they don't have any vision, so they don't know what's important. They don't have no priority. Their priorities are, if you don't have a priority that God is the most important thing, then everything else, all the other visions are just as messed up. So you think the priority is to just continue working and just continue allowing your children to be taught the most vilest things in school and in the colleges, and that you can just keep on reaping the benefits of this evil nation. But guess what? All those reaping the benefits of this evil nation, teaching kids all this evil and allowing it, you're not going to reap nothing but hell. Hell and fire and brimstone and gnashing of teeth. And guess what? You're going to look up. You're going to look up one day and you're going to see into heaven all those that did the right thing, that lived moral lives, and how you tried to slander them, and how you betrayed them, and how you gave your life to a false cause. And now you're in hell while you're looking up and seeing the wonderful life that those that chose to live the moral life and live the moral high ground. See, you wanted to go down to the bowels of hell, and so be it. There you will be in the bowels of hell. You know, I'm telling people right now, you need to get your vision back on God. Get your vision out of the clouds. Get your vision off of your cell phones. Get your vision off of social media. Get your vision off of what you think is the most important things in this world, because they're not. The most important things in this world is morality, and without it, you have nothing. You have no nation. You have no God. You have nothing, because God is more. He is your morality. You wear His morality. The God that you worship, that's the morality you wear. And guess what? It shows what the morality is here. It's immorality. It's immorality gods that people worship. And that's why they're allowing such filth on our TVs. And that's why they don't even allow good cartoons anymore for our children. It's just cartoons full of filth, full of vileness, showing our kids how to be as immoral as the culture in which they're growing up in. Because if you don't listen to me, go listen to the Bible. Go look up what happens to immorality in nations. Go find out what God does to immoral nations. Because, believe me, in that book, it'll tell you exactly what's going on with immorality. And I mean, you have all these people speaking up, saying what's going on, and we're still going forward like nothing's happening. I mean, I'm not the only one out here saying these things. You have plenty of people out here. So when that day comes that you have to answer to God, don't say you didn't hear it, because you know you did. But you know, you thought it was just more important to go to work. You thought it was more important than to do your moral duty. You thought it was more important than doing what needed to be done to get your family straightened out, to get your country straightened out. But anyways, it's just another day and another dollar. Hold on. I'm going to take a break for a second. All right, I'm back. Yes, it's just turned into a very vile place that we're living in. And I'm just saying to those adults out there, when are you going to change? When are you going to see that there's things way more important than what you have going on right now? What is all this that we're building if tomorrow it's destroyed by 1,000 suns over every city? Because I tell you, that is the judgments that's coming to America for the immorality that it's showing to the nations. Because these nations wasn't formed by your hands. They were formed by a God's hands. And He wants people to know Him, not the immoral gods that you've shown the world. And believe me, 1,000 suns is going to be coming to every city in America. And all this that you're building, all this that you think is important, will be gone in a day. And just think about this. After 1,000 suns have hit every major city in America with under 10 minutes, most of these missiles can reach us within 6 minutes. And then think about a 200 megaton warhead. 9 of them going off on each coast. 4 on each coast, or 4 on one coast, and 5 on the other. With a 200 megaton warhead, you're talking about a 1,600 foot tsunami coming at you at about 300 to 400 miles per hour, taking out every city and dumping nuclear material, radioactive material all over every coastline in America, from Florida all the way up to New York, and the same on this other side from Washington State all the way down the coast of California. And believe me, that is what's coming to America, because America doesn't want to repent. America wants to hit the gas full throttle into immorality, degradation, and a total lapse of vision for what's really important in this world. God, your country, and your morality. And without those things, you do not have anything. You don't even have your family. If your family is living immorally, you don't even have a family. Families are made up by moral individuals inside of that family. If people are living immoral, then that's why your kid is running out here at 2 o'clock at night getting shot by police. That's why your kids are running out here and dying or ODing on drugs. That's why your kids are out here running around getting killed in car wrecks every single weekend and every single day, because you've shown them what to worship, which was a cell phone. Don't be mad when they die by texting and driving. Who showed them best how to do that? You as a parent. This is called judgment. Because see, you're showing your kids what's most important. And they get all their importance out of what you see as important. You show them that a job is more important than a relationship with God. You show them what's more important is stealing extravagant wealth from the needy and the helpless for their own selfish reasons. You show them by sending them to colleges that produce the most vile material for them to study gods of ancient cities and ancient times that burned their babies, destroyed their homes, and everything else. Do you really think that God is going to bless this new generation coming up worshiping all these false idols, and you just sitting back crying and with such grief just because you know in your heart of hearts that you didn't teach them anything, and that you know in your heart of hearts that they went to hell? You better start thinking about what's important and what your vision of America is. Is it one where we allow the social and cultural society to be deprived of the living God? Or should we just keep continuing into immorality to the point where there's no more tears for anything that happens? Because there's already that. I see I see it all the time where family members don't even cry when their family gets murdered or when their family gets shot or when their family gets killed in a car accident or whatever. Because the simple fact is, it should bother you. And it should make you want to change what is going on around you to line up with what really matters in this world, because you know in your heart of heart what really matters. And if we continue to just allow these immoral people to run our country, to run our lives, then we just need what's coming to us. And believe me, what's coming to us isn't going to be good. Hold on, I'll be right back.
This is a view by the American people as an American issue. And I'm willing to work with anyone to get these done. And it's long past time that we act. Now, I know this has been a hobby horse of mine for a long time. Got it done once. We should also ban assault weapons and high-capacity magazines in this country.
Okay. So like I was saying, and like he was saying about the guns, we have guns in this society that shouldn't be here really, but they are. And we are still allowing our kids to be killed in schools just because we're too selfish to say we don't need these guns. We don't need this, but guess what? We allow it to be there anyways. And I say to myself, if we continue being so selfish that we won't even give up our guns, we won't even give up our jobs, we won't even sacrifice nothing for our future, then we don't have a future, because we're too busy trying to hold on to what we have to even have a future. And if we continue holding on to all this stuff, then our country, we should not even whine anymore, because that's just what it is. People just whine. People are whining over this or crying over this, and guess what? They don't do nothing. The right is so good at just crying. They cry while they're getting robbed. They cry that they're losing all their money in the stock market. They cry to this, they cry to that, but they don't walk the walk. And at this point in time, I don't even think even me or anyone can change the hardened hearts, because there's so many people out here that have given up their firstborn and they don't even cry anymore. So many people have sacrificed so many years to grow somebody up just for them to die in one day, because they didn't teach them to be moral and to do the right thing. And here we are again, right back where we started from, just crying, never doing nothing. And, it starts at the home. All these single mothers out here, I understand that can happen, but I also understand you shouldn't be so selfish that you won't even lay down your life so that your family can have a supportive father, can have a supportive role model, a fatherly role model in these families. You're griping about what isn't even true within the schools. You think, oh, I can do it without him. Yeah, you can, but I promise you, it ain't like doing it with him. Quit being so selfish and allow truth to reign in your life. Allow truth to be what sets you apart from the others. But if you want immorality, you want this culture war to end in defeat, then you might as well just lay down your hands now. But if you want to fight, take your kids out of school. Start teaching them yourself. Teach them what they need to know so they can get up and go. Get in with a community that actually wants to know about God and actually cares about God and actually wants to really show people God's work in their life. Get out of these Satanist churches. Get out of these Satanist toxic places of religion. Quit looking for religion and look for a relationship with God. But I would just hope that this message would come to somebody's heart out there and somebody would start to realize that you are in a war and that without fighting, without doing what's right, without doing what's right for the moral authority and the moral fabric of this nation, then guess what? Just take the defeat, lay down, and don't even do anything. Just lay down and go to sleep. Because the only destination you have is hell anyways. Just like God said, what is the profit of man to gain the whole world and lose his soul in the end? Well, that's what you're going to do anyways. So while you're going to lose your soul, you might as well lay down and just live in hell. Because you're going to go to hell anyways if you don't get up and fight. If you don't get up and fight for at least for the children. For God's sakes, men of this country, for the children alone. Forget about everything else. The children alone is worth the fight to get this country back on track. It's time to get women back in line. It's time to get ourselves back in line. And it's time to get this country back in line with a vision for God and country. Thank you again.